Hello Slaymates, and welcome back to the channel. For those of you that are new here, I'm Kimmy. Looking at the analytics for my last few videos, it seems like you all really like the Am I the A-hole content, so I have another one for you today, armed with my trusty squeaky hammer of justice. So without further ado, let's go ahead and get into it. Today's story is called Am I the A-hole for snapping and cussing at an HOA board member for not leaving us alone? Huh, I see an HOA is involved. Not the a-hole. Oh, I guess that could be considered a premature adjudication. I'm sorry, this usually doesn't happen to me. I got a little excited. Jokes aside, for those of you unfamiliar and not from the States, what have you, an HOA is a homeowners association. They usually pick the biggest power tripping Karens and Kevins to run around and nitpick how everyone has their house in the area. Now, the common abbreviation, of course, HOA is Homeowners Association, but I prefer to think of it as Harpies Overreacting Always. I think it's a more accurate acronym for it, but I digress. They are pretty much a menace in many areas that they oversee. But I guess just for the sake of everything, we should just continue on with the story. Am I the a-hole? I posted this in r/am I overreacting because I'm really not sure. This happened about a week ago and I'm on the fence. A month ago, my husband found a largish lump on our 9-year-old Russell Terrier's face. We took her to the vet, who told us there was nothing that could be done for her. I was not content with that, so we got a second opinion that ended up reflecting the first. Personally, I had to say goodbye to one of my kitties pretty recently. This was Zap Meowsdower. And it was extremely heartbreaking, just knowing that there was nothing else to be done, and that was the kindest thing for her to do, but still making that decision to do it, it's painful, and it's absolutely not easy, and it's a really emotional, trying time. The vet told us that no matter how early we detected it, there was nothing we could have done short of jaw removal, which that would have absolutely just destroyed any quality of life. So, and I'm a firm believer, even for myself, in quality over quantity when it comes to life. She said that our pup had days, maybe weeks, as it was a very aggressive cancer. She gave us a couple of prescriptions for pain and inflammation, which perked our dog up and made her playful again. When it seemed the medicine was no longer working, we decided it was time. That was very similar to my situation with Zap Meowsdower. She seemed like she was getting better for a couple of days, and then nothing was helping. She wasn't eating anymore, so it was really hard. The HOA had hired a contractor to do siding replacement and painting, but our back patio was a disaster, so a couple of days before they were going to get to our unit, the HOA told my husband he needed to clean up the back patio. He spent the entirety of the day cleaning up the patio, but we had made the appointment with the vet for 4 p.m., so he had to take a break. His plan was to finish up the little bit that still needed doing that evening. For what it's worth, it took him less than 15 minutes to finish that night. As my husband, our 10-year-old, and I were walking to the car with our dog, a woman I didn't recognize approached us. She had a smallish dog with her, so I thought she was wanting to introduce our dogs to each other, which I thought was sweet. The first thing out of her mouth was something along the lines of being on the board and noticing our back patio wasn't done, which she couldn't possibly have known unless she opened our privacy fence gate. Something HOAs are absolutely famous for is overstepping bounds, occasionally violating privacy, just like in this case, not respecting personal property, also in this case. I stepped in front of my husband, who had very clearly been crying, and my 10-year-old, who was actively crying, and told her now was not a good time as we were on our way to the vet to have our dog put to sleep. I honestly can't remember how she responded exactly. The adrenaline had kicked in. But it was something along the lines of, well, the workman will be here tomorrow. Really, lady? Really? My husband said he would be finishing it, and I repeated that now is really not a good time. She said, well, I'll have to contact someone. And I cut her off and said, I don't give a damn. Like I said, now is not a good time. We have to take our dog to die. Now back off. Oh yeah, I probably would have lost it too. Absolutely. I sidestepped her to get to our van and said very loudly, Jesus Christ, woman, read the fucking room for fuck's sake. And we promptly left. I texted another HOA member who said to put the details into an email, but now I'm wondering if it's worth it. I feel kind of like my language sort of relinquishes my moral high ground. I regret nothing, nor should you. Nor should you. I mean, this lady couldn't see that you had a distraught child, husband, cradling a dog that probably didn't look well, and still had to carry on with her little nitpicky HOA bullshit. Like, yeah, no, that's totally understandable. Also, I can't see what recourse there would be, since being a decent human being isn't a prerequisite to having a board position. This is unfortunately true. I mean, I guess there's, some other options. Like, I mean, I think if word around that gets around the neighborhood, there could be a chance that she could be ousted. I mean, that's always possible. I really would never want to live in any place with an HOA, because it's literally just, busybody Karens like running around. I mean, you've heard of the names for like a group of animals, like a murder of crows, a clouder of cats. A group of Karens can be called either a complaint or an HOA. So there's now I can count this as an educational video. But I think I've made pretty clear what my stance is on this, and clearly 1000% not the a-hole. But let's take a look at some comments. I think you should make the board aware even though your language was rough. So was the situation. You told her and you told her. You don't need recourse, but the board needs to know how she behaved in case it happens again with either you or someone else. That is a good point. I mean, at least get a paper trail going, especially with her going into your yard. Even with apartments, they have to give some sort of notice if they're gonna, enter. And I think there's probably similar rules in a lot of HOAs. I'm not 100% sure on that, but yeah, definitely at least get a paper trail started. And if she was so bold to do that, just stroll into your yard, she's probably done similar things or worse to other people living in the community. I have no words except that I'm sorry that you had to put your fur baby to sleep. I can completely understand your reaction and empathize with your loss. If love could have saved him, he would still be here with you. Sending hugs. Yeah, it's definitely true in my case too. See, when our cat had a medical emergency, I rushed her to the vet. It was about 8 p.m. and my teenage son came with me. I had to make the tough decision several hours later, and we went home without her around 3 a.m. School holidays, so no school the next day. As we drove home, I was stopped by a police officer for a check, which I absolutely get. Middle-aged man driving around with a crying 14-year-old at 3 a.m. Quite right, too. I don't think I'll ever forget how nice he was. He got it instantly, saw the empty pet carrier, checked that my son was okay, did his job quickly and efficiently, wished us the best, and let us move on with our lives. And now I'm tearing up at how lucky you were to find such a decent human being, while OP had to experience a total arsehole in a horrible moment. Just wow. To behave like that when people have done nothing wrong and are obviously suffering, it takes a special kind of person to be like that. Yeah. Yeah, that person just needs that HOA Karen really just needs to go find the nearest tree and apologize to it for taking its oxygen. It's just unbelievable how people can act, when they get a little bit of bureaucratic power and they just go absolutely apeshit with it. It's just really, really unfortunate that you know, people have to take the splash damage from people like that. Well, that is today's story. If you have any thoughts, opinions you'd like to share, just go ahead and drop those in the comments below. And if you like what you see here and want to see more, just gently stroke that like and subscribe button and stimulate that algorithm. And until it's time to come slay with me, go slay with yourselves. Bye.